Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So today we're gonna do one of my favorite tropes. Breeding. Love me some good breeding in books. Yes. I don't need more kids. But this is a trope that you guys seem to actually really like and has been requested quite a bit. So I think this is like our third breeding video.
Yes, but it's been a while since we've done one.
It was like 7 months. So yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. So before we get started with that,
well, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you're entered to win any fun giveaways that we're doing, and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on new videos from us. And we love it if you'd like and comment. Tell us what your thoughts are on the taboo breeding kinky trope.
Yeah, love that breeding kinky trope. Okay, so without delaying too long, we're just going to jump right into some breeding going on here. Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, let me just close this because the door did not get closed and that will show up on video. Okay, so the first book that I have is one I've talked about a few times, but it definitely has the breeding in it. And that is Born for Silk by Nikki Harris. The whole premise of this book really is breeding. I mean, it really, really is. So this is about Aster and Rome. This is a dystopian romance. Rome is the king, and he's the king of like this desolate country. Everything is very desolate, but these people are born with it's ingrained in them from birth that they're there to serve their purpose, and your purpose is like your job that you're assigned to due to what your parents did before you. And so if your dad was a carpenter, then you're going to be a carpenter, and your life's goal is to fulfill your glorious purpose of being a carpenter. And so that is where we have Aster. Her mother was a silk girl. And the way you become a silk girl is if you have someone in your family who was like your mom or your grandma who's a silk girl who didn't have any miscarriages, then you're trained to be a silk girl as well. The whole purpose of these girls is basically to be a walking womb for an elite member. When they're trained, they are trained to want the king. They are all vying for his attention, but if you don't get the king, then you typically get some elite member of that society. But Aster and Rome have a meet cute at the beginning of this book. She's just about to get her tattoo because the silk girls all have the tattoo on their forearm. It looks like a womb with flowers, and that is to identify them as silk girls. And they have this meet cute where they're really drawn and attracted to each other. And then later down the road, he rescues her, and he just can't get her out of his head. He is scarred, and he's been through battles and the whole nine. So he, the way the silk girl thing works is there is like a small harem in the castle, and the king sleeps with one of them, but the girls are all supposed to wear veils, and his buddies sleep with these girls at the same night. On the same night, they know that someone is coming to them, but they don't know who it's going to be because they never want people to know whether it is the king that is the father of that baby. Only the king knows whose baby, because they're all born at the same time. If they're all having sex at the same time, it's like a thing. So nobody knows, but she knows it's the king. And so it's like, it's really good. It's different, but it's good. There's baby making. There's a lot of baby making going on in this book. Right. I cannot wait for the next book. I'm telling you. So, okay.
My next book has baby making and breeding, but she does not know about it.
Oh, I like those too. What book is that?
Such a Good Guy by Kate Raven.
Okay.
So if you look at this cover, I love this cover. It just really, like, this cover model just captures Luke's personality to a T. Like, this was just a perfect pick. So we have Luke, who is Luna's brother's best friend. And Luke he's just such a great guy that he's always invited along to things. So he's just always kind of there. Like, they go on a cruise as a family and he comes along. And during this time, he has fallen obsessively in love with Luna. And he is a self-described psychopath. And he has feelings for nothing other than Luna. And so if Luna says she likes something, he takes note and he tries very hard to do that for her or to be that person. So when she's talking about Mr. Darcy, he gets very irate and wants to kill Mr. Darcy until he finds out that's a fictional character. So then he studies up on Pride and Prejudice so he can be the perfect gentleman. Well, Luna makes a comment about how nobody wants to get married and have kids anymore. They just don't want a family. So Luke seizes this opportunity without Luna knowing. I
Okay.
love this book. I rated it 4 stars. It's fantastic, but it is dark. I mean, he is a self-described psychopath.
Yeah.
It is very dark at times. So if you're not comfortable with that, don't read this one.
Mhm.
And she has a side note about this is not a healthy relationship. Like, obviously. But,
Obviously.
love this one. It was really, really good.
I don't read dark romance for relationship advice. Like, I'm good in that area. I read
Yeah.
it because it's
Yeah.
good.
I would hope
Yeah.
nobody is taking note for advice on relationships. Like,
Yeah.
mhm.
hmm Yeah. Okay, so yours was dark, but no matter how dark that is, I guarantee that what I'm going to suggest next is like the darkest of the dark. So just make sure you check triggers before you jump into this duet, which will eventually be a trilogy, because it is friggin' dark. And that is Tethered Souls by Miranda Grant. So this is paranormal. This is where there's a book that comes before this one as well, but that you can read these as standalone, or this duet is a standalone. It will eventually be a third. There's a third book that's supposed to come out sometime before the end of the year that concludes their story. But this is about Micah and Various. And so in this world, it is a paranormal world. It is mafia, but the mafia families are, instead of just being like Italian, Brava, that kind of thing, it is the werewolves, the witches, and the vampire clans. And so there's 3 different clans, these 3 different factions that are fighting each other. And so Micah and Various are a part of the witch clans, the witch families. Various is the head. He is the capo of all of these guys. And Micah is an assassin for the witches. She's an assassin with a little bit of a heart, though. Like, what you think is happening in the beginning is not actually what's happening in the beginning. So definitely stay with it, because I almost DNF'd it within the first couple chapters. So they are forced to get married. Various doesn't actually have magic. Like, he never got his witch powers. And so that is a really hard thing for him, but he is still the leader of the family, but he has to get married. And that is where Micah comes in. This is an arranged, forced marriage situation for both of them. They don't like each other. They don't want to like each other. They actually really hate each other. But Various needs, he needs heirs. And so the whole point between them being married is that he is going to get his heirs and she is going to be a walking womb for him. And so, obviously things kind of work out a little bit better for them as the book goes on. But this book has so many triggers and it is very, very dark, but it is really good. If you can handle it, it is really, really good. So definitely keep an eye out for your own mental health there and check those triggers, or message me. You can even message Miranda. She knows that these books are hard to get through and they're dark, and you can message her and she will always tell you what you need to know. But if you feel more comfortable messaging me, we can do that too. So anyhow, still really good. Lots of breeding happening. Just really dark breeding. So.
Okay. My next one is very, very taboo.
Okay.
So let's talk about Hot Revenge by Simone Blue.
Okay.
So in this, we have Kyle, and his wife is a gold digger. She's awful. She's mean to him. She's just a raging biatch. Like, there's just no other way to describe her. And so he decides that he is going to get revenge on her. And how he's going to do this is he is going to get her daughter pregnant at the age of 19, because the one thing that she feared the most was her daughter becoming a teenage pregnancy like she was. And she does not want to be a grandma. She does not want a teen pregnancy in her house. So he decides the best way to do this is to knock her up. So breed her he does, and a lot. So this is very taboo because this is her stepdad, and things happen where Yeah, there's just some things that happen that are a little bit out there.
Mhm.
So yeah. But yes, this is full on breeding and revenge.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This trope just makes me so happy. I just need you to know that. It's one of my favorites. It's a good thing we can't have any more kids. Okay, so anyhow, my next one is a little different because it's historical, but it does have quite a bit of breeding in it, even though it's not as blatantly obvious. It is like the whole reason why the story happens. And so that is Texas Glory by Lorraine Heath. You can read this as a standalone, although it is a part of a series. I think it's a trilogy, but it's a part of that. But these are all brothers, and then they get their happily ever afters. But this is about Cordelia and Dallas. So Cordelia's brothers are basically infringing on Dallas's land. Dallas is like the biggest landowner in town. He's trying to build this town. He's a very wealthy man in Texas, and he doesn't really want to put barbed wire up, but he's considering it, like, because of these people. Cordy's, or Dee, she goes by Dee. Her brothers are there's a river that runs through it, and they're insisting that that's their land, and so this is a big land dispute between them. So he figures the best way to fix this is to marry the mysterious daughter, Cordelia, that nobody has seen. Like, he gets told that she doesn't have a nose and that she wears like a prosthetic nose. And like, there's just crazy stories that come out of this. His little brother tells these crazy stories. And so he goes through at the wedding, and his whole purpose in life is he wants a son. He wants an heir to carry on the family name and to give his legacy to. And he is obsessed with having an heir. And so he marries Cordelia. She doesn't have the best life to begin with. She has a very abusive father. And then on top of that, now she's married to a man who doesn't want her. He just wants her to provide an heir for him. And so it's a very angsty story. It is arranged marriage. There's a lot of angst in the story. I loved it so much. You don't really see this in like the whole historical setting, but this did it for me so good. I just love their story so much. Okay.
My book flipped on me.
Oh no, I hate when it happens.
So my next one is a recent read that I did, and that's Stowaway Whirlwind by May Alder. I almost called her Adler. Sorry, Alder. So this is Marigold. Marigold is 19 and pregnant. She's hitchhiking to her dad's house when something, so like kind of not across country, but across several states, when something happens, and she kind of ends up stranded at this truck stop. So she sneaks into this 18-wheeler into the back cab and goes to sleep. And eventually, like hours later, she wakes up and Davis is driving down the road, and he is very startled to find that he has a passenger. And he's even more thrown off when he realizes that not only is she young and pregnant, like she is very pregnant, like about to have this baby. And through some series of different events, he ends up pretty attached to her, ends up taking her to the hospital to have her baby, and decides that it is now his role in life to protect her and take her and the baby as his. And from there, we see a little different side of Davis because he gets very, very, very obsessed with breeding and may have led her to believe some misinformation about breastfeeding and getting pregnant.
Oh no.
But yes, he is very obsessed with that, with breeding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a wild ride.
I bet it is. Okay, so the next book I have was a recent read for me as well. This is Dirty Hit by Heather Ashley, and I'm told that a lot of Heather Ashley's, just like BJ Alpha, have breeding in it, like almost every single one. So you can't do wrong with one of those. But this is a hockey romance. This is more of a, I don't necessarily want to call it a dark hockey romance, but it does deal with stalkers and some dark themes. So again, you probably want to check your triggers. But this is about Cassidy and Hayden. So Hayden is the bad boy of hockey. He is always in trouble. And after a game one night, he gets a message, like an Instagram message from someone who is hackling him about his performance. And he looks at her profile and realizes that she's hot, and he becomes obsessed with her. he finds out that she lives in Seattle and he's not in Seattle at the time. And so there's just, he's like, I'm going to get this one. I'm going to get this one somehow. And so then a few days later, he gets traded. He gets in trouble and he gets traded, and he tells his coach, well, if you're going to trade me, I want Seattle. And so that's how he ends up in Seattle, where Cassidy's dad has gifted her this bar. He passed away, and he has a sports bar, and is where the hockey team, the Seattle hockey team, comes and hangs out a lot. The Seattle hockey team is horrible at this point in time. And so they're always hanging out at the bar, and they need some help. And that's where Hayden does get accepted by them right away, because he is good at hockey, even though he is the bad boy of hockey. And so that is where he actually sees her for the first time. He becomes obsessed with her. He gets her to go out with him reluctantly, and kind of stalks her and does all sorts of crazy things. But like, when it comes time for the boom boom in the bedroom, he may or may not be poking holes in the condom. And if somebody says something about getting her pregnant or getting their friend pregnant or something, and he was like, yeah, that's exactly how I'm going to get that one. And so it becomes his mission to get her pregnant, whether she likes it or not. She has no clue what's going on. She just thinks it's good sex.
That reminds me of a C.R. Jean book.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I know we mentioned we have another breeding video, so definitely go check that one out, because I know C.R. Jane is in that. But yes,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I did not use any of those books for this one, since it was one of them was used in the other one, but she's also one that has that in there quite frequently in a very yummy way.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Also, speaking of breeding kinks, I have The Wild One by Daisy Jane. So in this one, not only are we treated with a great breeding kink, we also get the lactation kink, but it's done in a very positive way. And so sometimes I think that Daisy Jane's books get taken out of context and are just focused like, oh, it's just all totally like smut and kink, but that is not the case at all. You read these books and you are so sucked into the plot that you don't even really realize that the kink is happening until you're done with the book. And you're like, oh, wait, it did have that. Oh, wait, yes.
Yeah.
So very plot heavy. Just want to throw that out there. So we have Beau. Beau's dad has died, and he is really struggling with this. And so he spends a lot of time drinking. And one day he's working the front counter at the automotive shop, and he is very hungover. And this lady comes in and is trying to talk to him. And he tells her to calm down. She does not take this very well, but we are getting it from his point of view. We know he's wanting her to calm down because he's having a hard time thinking, the room is spinning, and he thinks he's about to puke. She does not calm down when he tells her to calm down, as most women would not, to which he then responds with, just be quiet. And then he hurls everywhere. So if that is not the most epic meet cute for a couple, I don't know what would be. Everyone else that works at the shop is like horrified by the things that have gone down here. But Beck just is like, I just need my car fixed. I need this AC fixed desperately. She is a single mom with a very young baby that she is still breastfeeding, and where we get our lactation kink will come in a little bit. And Beau is significantly younger than her, and she is very self-conscious of that. And the two do start to date. We see the lactation kink come into play, and then we see Beau almost get feral with obsession with breeding her, but in a very still respectful way. Like, this is not a dark romance, nothing like, crazy that way. I was trying to switch back and I muted myself. So if you enjoy like just a really good story with some kinks in there, Daisy Jane is definitely one to check out and start with The Wild One.
Yeah. Okay. So my last one is another one you guys are going to have to check triggers on. But that is The Wild Man by Alex Grayson. This definitely has a few. There's a lot of non-con, dub-con situations happening in here. So definitely check triggers on this one. But this is basically about a wild man. So this is about Everly. And she is a reporter. She's heard stories of the wild man. He's supposedly was a 5-year-old boy who was abandoned in the Appalachian Mountains or what, out in the wilderness. And he's lived out there all alone all these years, but nobody, like there's been sightings of him, but nobody's ever found out what's going on. So she's been raised by her dad and her brothers. Her mom died when she was young. And so she knows how to survive out in the wilderness. And so she decides she's going to go hiking to find the wild man. And find the wild man she does, because she sees him one day swimming naked, and then she follows into his little humble abode, and he just immediately grabs her and says mine, and she is hit, like she is taken, it's total captive, even though he doesn't realize, like he's raised himself in the wild around animals, and that's all he knows. And so you can, like, when I look at it, that's how I see it. That's all he knows. He acts and behaves like a wild animal, and breeding comes into play there, because that is what they do. So definitely check triggers, but this is so good, and there is a lot of breeding in there, because animals breed, and so does our animal right here. So what's your last one?
Well, I am ending on a straight up, like, this is just throwing out the breeding and lactation kink hardcore. It is a shorter book. So it's just very heavily focused on this. It's by B. Sub Jenkins. So I think we already know what we're getting. We're going to get a very smutty good time with some plot. So this is The Milkman. And we have Johnny, who, sorry, Noelle really wants to participate today. We have Farmer Johnny. He owns a dairy farm. And next door, Charlotte moves into the cottage her grandma owned. And Charlotte is a webcam girl where she does lactation things. And Johnny is one of her best customers, but they don't know each other outside of the cam world. He has, like, they know. Okay, let me start this over. She knows what she's never seen his face on camera, if that makes sense. So he knows what she looks like, but she does not know who he is. Okay. And she's moves in, and she goes to the local farmers market to try and meet new people. And he instantly recognizes her and is smitten with the fact that she now lives next door to him. And he just kind of goes to town with this because he is all for it. He is there for all of the lactation kinks, and he is there for the breeding kinks. He has a breeding rack that is going to get put to use. And it's just a good time. Like,
can you explain that breeding rack, please?
It's used for his cows, and instead of getting rid of it, he keeps it in the barn to use farm with her.
Yeah, I used to babysit on a dairy farm. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So, wow. All right.
Yeah. I ended that strong.
You did. You did a good job with that one. So, all right, guys. So there's some breeding kink for you.
Yeah. Let us know, what other taboo videos would you like to see? Do you want more of this? Do you want something else? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.